Hi, I'm AJ. This is Shane. We're back on Lawnspiracy today. Shane, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Shane Kranick, the general manager with Putnam, BCMA Incorporated. I've been here for 4 years now. Really, this was my intro into the tree industry. Eric called my wife and I out from Florida, where we were living at the time, and said, hey, we need to grow and y'all are going to help me. So we moved over here and it's been an adventure ever since.
Man, so you've been in the tree industry for 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever do anything with trees and arboriculture or even landscaping and lawn care before that?
I mean, projects on my own, nothing officially, nothing ever paid in the slightest. I paid for them, right?
Okay.
But I've always been very interested in plants. Originally, when I was in high school, my pursuit was going to be for botany.
Really?
So I really wanted to become a botanist because I'd seen The Martian. Where he's the botanist on Mars and grows the potatoes. So that got me into it. I was always into science and I was always into, nature in general. So it just kind of worked out very well.
I can appreciate that. So in the 4 years, you've had a lot more experience with customers, tree issues, things like that. I've been on the lawn care side for 12 years now. I don't deal much with arboriculture, but I know I have my number one things that people ask and things that I have problems with, usually pertaining to over applications, misapplications, things like that. Now, in your experience in arboriculture, what is one of the number one things that you come across with your customers? Like, say, a number one question or a number one problem that they tend to ask about in your side of things?
Well, it's definitely a situation of a lot of over pruning, a lot of root issues, a lot of over mulching causing, girdling roots. There's a lot of disease transfer from dirty pruning equipment. There's a lot of everything, really. But I would say one of the most prevalent issues that we run across on a day-to-day basis across the 4 estimators that are running the greater Houston area, seeing 8 to 10 clients a day. We see probably 2 to 3 clients a day per person that are suffering from what would be considered abnormal herbicide damage.
Okay, well, you say abnormal herbicide damage. I'm just a layman person and on my lawn care side. So is there a normal herbicide damage?
Because of the chemistry of herbicides, there's always some level of damage. I don't really think you can get away with applying herbicides in an environment and not really have some kind of stress, some kind of damage, some kind of hormonal disruption. But I really think that it is when it starts to be seen by the client, by the customer. When the customer starts to notice that there's something wrong with their plant and they can't figure out what's going on, I'd say that's where it starts getting abnormal, because there's a level, a threshold, let's call it, right? When you're treating for pests, for insects, if there's only a couple, you don't really need to do anything. You might pick off a couple leaves on, say it's like a little citrus tree or something, right? Say there's some leaf miners. You might just pick off those couple leaf miners, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to treat the tree. Same thing with the herbicide, maybe there's a threshold.
I would say in my 10 years of predominantly fixing lawns, there is a level that people can get away with, right? Without causing excessive damage. But unfortunately, we get past that threshold all too often, right?
Way too easily.
And pertaining to herbicide damage, which trees are freaking resilient, right? Even nature, plants, your lawn, your landscape, it can be pretty darn resilient. I'd say trees, in my opinion, at least what I see, they're way more resilient than the lawn. Would you agree?
Overall, I would agree, because there's definitely times where you come across a lawn that's being treated really heavily with herbicides,
Mhm.
and the grass is yellow, the grass is, very stunted and just
Oh.
having a really hard time and looks sickly, right?
Yeah.
But the tree will be doing okay, especially if it's, some like the live oaks in our area, they handle it pretty well versus, say maybe like some of the red oak group trees, those get zapped right away. Crepe myrtles, they hold up to herbicide damage pretty well. They just start growing a whole bunch of shoots everywhere.
They can hold up to getting chopped down pretty well. All right. Crepe myrtles are they call it crepe myrtle murder.
Yeah.
Right. But good luck murdering that thing.
No,
It's
yeah.
resilient.
It's pretty resilient.
So you said out of your 4 estimators, they generally see 3 people a piece with excessive herbicide damage on their trees. I say it like this, everyone, because it is such a common thing. He's saying that, roughly that's 12 people a day.
Yeah.
That have,
and if everybody's seeing 8 to 10 people a day, that's as much as 30% right there.
Right.
30% of all the people that we see, and we see 7,000 people a year.
I don't know that's like 2,100 people a year that have herbicide damage in the Houston metropolitan area. That's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is it an environmental impact, it's hurting the tree, but let's face it, it's also hurting their pocket.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because
Right.
it costs a lot to fix these issues.
Yeah, and to remediate it.
Yeah. That's even if you can remediate it, right? Because a lot of these trees we show up to are dead or just so damaged that they can't be repaired. That means you're removing, you're stump grinding, you're replacing, all over wanting to have green grass.
So, or not even green grass.
Yeah,
okay?
weed-free grass.
I mean, I'm the hippie. I know grass. They're not fighting for green grass, okay? They're fighting for a weed-free lawn,
Yeah.
right? Screw biodiversity. Screw freaking healthy soil.
One big monoculture.
Let's kill the plant that we cannot name. I don't know what it is, but it's not St. Augustine. And then I see people out here pulling up their runners of St. Augustine because it's not sticking to the ground because they're like, well, I didn't know what it was, so I was ripping it out. And I'm like, man, you're ripping out your own lawn.
Yep.
Shane, on a very serious note though,
Certainly.
because I like to go into the environmental aspect, the health and all this, but I think what gets people's attention, from my view, what gets people's attention is money. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, can you give us an estimated dollar figure of what herbicide damage is costing people on a yearly basis?
Well, it's a kind of a hard number to equate, I think, really. But at minimum, I think a good way of looking at it is if you're calling us out because your tree's sick and you can't figure out what's going on, a lot of times we're coming after the second or third arborist that's already been out there. Nobody can diagnose the problem, and we diagnose it as herbicide damage. And that means it could have just been one time in the last year that herbicide was applied too heavily. The only way to really remediate that is to try and get the tree to improve in health and outgrow that damage. And our services really start around $750. So that means just that 1 year incident of applying herbicide too much might cost you $750 plus. A lot of our treatments, depending on property size, are 1,000 plus over wanting to have weed-free grass.
And that's just on the tree side.
That's if you can save the tree.
Right, and not having to remove it.
Yeah.
And that's not even considering the value of the tree,
And the damage and the disfiguration.
or if it is lost.
Yeah.
Right. I know Eric years ago told me about them moving one of the big oak trees in League City, and I want to say it cost around $350,000.
He's talked about that with me a little bit, yes.
To move that tree. Okay. Now, because it was like a noble oak. It had some historical value in Lake City, and they were making a road bigger there, so they had to move it. Okay. Now, with that in mind, I'm thinking, that's one tree. A lot of these people have these big, beautiful trees, whether it's oaks, whether it's maples, cypress, what have you. It's hard to quantify the value of these big, huge trees that when they come down, unless you're freaking rich, you're not putting it back.
No. Let's put it this way. When we do insurance appraisals, because we do a lot of appraisals for insurance claims, truck drove through client's fence and destroyed their tree. And, I'd say if you're dealing with a live oak, anything past 30 years old, we can consider that mature, because when you're talking nursery spec, the largest live oak you can really get that's not a field dug live oak is about a 72-inch wide box grown live oak. And that's a big tree that requires a crane to plant, to be able to plant it in the first place, actual crane operator.
Wow.
And there's a nationwide nursery. They start with an M, and they might or might not live in a valley. But their quote for a 72-inch box grown live oak with tax, with warranty, with planting is $44,000.
I know it because I have clients myself that I go out to fix their lawns, and they were telling me about similar company. I don't know if it was the exact same one, but this guy had two really decent sized trees had planted in the front of his yard. He said they cost $40,000 a piece. You guys, come on. For the average Joe out there, $40,000 is not a drop in the bucket.
Whole year's income.
Right, or just like car, fix the foundation. We're gonna put in a very established tree. That's tough.
But it's because you can't buy time, right? So that, that tree that's in a 72-inch box has taken 20 to 25 years to grow.
Yeah.
And so you're only paying for the duration of time it took for somebody to have planted that little tiny acorn in a box and let it sit on their field for 20 years while they maintain and water it and care for it, and for them to come plant it in your yard.
Yeah.
And so if you're dealing with herbicide damage and you just lost a 20 to 30-year-old tree, you can easily say that you just lost $40,000.
Easily. And it's unfortunate because the information out there, and I say information, and I want to be clear that just because it's information doesn't mean it's good information, right? It's very obvious that there is a lot of no good information out there because these guys are out there trying to remediate a lot of stuff that happened based off of bad information.
Yeah, it's all, let's put it this way. Some of the times we go out to customers, it's their own fault, right? Pretty recently, we had a guy who had a little 5,000 square foot lawn. That's a good size, decent size.
It's a decent size lawn.
Yeah. And he
5,000 square foot for the front lawn.
Yeah,
that is a
good
decent
lawn.
size.
So, but he took 4 bags of the 40-pound Scott's Bonus Plus weed and feed, and because more is better, more is always better, right? We ran into, he put all 4 40-pound bags in his front yard to the point where 2 months later, you could still see the granules.
You're kidding me, right? That's making me nauseous thinking about that.
Yeah.
I fix this stuff all the time in my side of business because things are overtreated and defeated and what have you. You're telling me 160 pounds of weed and feed was applied to 5,000 square feet? Oh my God, that makes my head explode a little bit.
It does. And my point
hurt.
It does. It really does, because he thought he was doing a good thing for his lawn. And at the correct dosage, there's discussion there, right? But at that level of dosage, there's no denying that wasn't a good thing, or what wasn't a bad thing.
I want to go back to what you said earlier in our conversation. is you did mention that like pretty much any herbicide amount can be bad, right? And like, so I want to always, on my side, I've been fixing lawns for 10 years. The most prevalent thing is how do you kill the weeds? And I'm fixing it because someone tried to kill the weeds. I want to make the side of the argument that it's almost like never safe, right? And it's so common that people do these things, not to that level.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's such a common practice that amount of that application went way over that guy's head.
No, and it's very unfortunate because that's not the first or only time we've heard of that. And that's on a residential consumer level doing that. And I think a lot of the times when you hire somebody, you don't get anywhere near that level of overage, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's happened. And I would say the majority of our herbicide issue clients aren't from them trying to resolve weed issues in their own yard themselves. It's from hiring a landscaper, hiring the lawn guy to be able to do something that he's not necessarily qualified for.
Well, I agree because there's plenty of people who have no training or anything, and they're putting out weed killers. I typically see it on flower beds.
Yeah, flower beds.
Or in mulch beds that are around the trees, right? So we got mulch volcanoes already doing a bad job, right? And then B, we soak it down with some herbicide to kill the little, plants growing in the mulch, and then we get heavy rains. Like recently we've had a lot of heavy rains. I see this all the time as you can tell if it's been recently done in that flower bed and then you get a rain, because wherever the water flows down is your first sign of a bunch of die off in the lawn.
Absolutely.
So like you have a bunch of people just thinking this is normal and it shouldn't be. B, you have a bunch of professionals, and I'm going to go ahead and say that, okay? That's my opinion, is that a lot of people considered professionals are doing stuff that is still not very professional, right? But on the other side is even on the professional side, and people who do to some degree have better training and stuff like that, they're still trained to do what the customer says instead of what is right. And I just like to use the name Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson is like, but I want to kill the weeds. And what I hear from the big professional companies is that, yes, Mr. Johnson, we're going to kill the weeds. You're going to have bug-free lawn and it's going to be perfect.
And there's nothing to worry about because everything we do is tried and true and tested.
Oh, it's tried and true. A true freaking disaster.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one.
Oh man, I'm still racking in my brain you telling me that someone put 160 pounds of friggin' weed and feed on their front lawn.
It's nearly unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable because we have that more is better mindset. And that follows through even licensed applicators. Because even licensed applicators can get tricked into the fallacy of more is better. If I didn't get results the first time, let me put some more out.
That, or in my 10 years of experience, I will say, because the number one question is so predominant, right? It'll wear you down. It'll thin your skin and it hurts.
Yeah.
Kill the weeds, kill the weeds, kill the weeds, kill the weeds, right? So even the people who start out like, hey, I want to provide a good service, I want to do this naturally, like they have all the kind of right intentions, and then the consumer side kills you.
Yeah.
Right? It beats down your soul. Fortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like on your side though, y'all are called on the opposite side of it, meaning people already screwed this up and they see you as the people who come in and remedy this issue, which I know for a fact they are, right?
Thank you.
They do a fantastic job. I've always heard excellent things about your ability to bring back the trees, supporting soil biology.
Exactly, and that's all it is, because the only way those herbicides are truly breaking down in the soil is because soil, usually bacteria, are breaking them down. And growing that bacteria is one of the biggest things you can do to actually fix your herbicide issues, your herbicide damage, your herbicide overage. You know, when it comes to being a licensed pesticide applicator, as I've been one for 2.5 years now, when I took my classes at Texas A&M, let's put it this way, the goal is to sell you herbicides, because when I was there was multiple sales reps from different herbicide brands trying to get these new applicators onto their schedules, onto their regimens, onto their client list. And so it's from day one. Even if you go to get your applicator's license like I did, just for insecticide usage, because there's no way to kill a wood borer that's inside of a tree without a systemic insecticide.
True.
And it's unfortunate to have to introduce that into the environment, but it's tree over a little bit of environmental damage for a period of time, and we can grow that environment back with, you know, a biostimulant and being able to grow that fungal and that soil health.
So, but that's also, you have your treatment, right? And then you have a recovery plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I know for a fact, because I have to fix this stuff all the time, most people have no idea of a recovery plan.
I think it's just a snap.
It's just a constant cycle of treat and defeat, treat and defeat, treat and defeat. Whereas in arboriculture, so I've been taught a little bit, it is this integral relationship between the roots, the soil, its environment.
Absolutely, and that's what I meant, because a lot of people just think it's a snap of a finger to be able to fix everything. But just as long as it takes your grass to grow into a nice, beautiful, healthy lawn, or just as long as it takes for your tree to become a nice, beautiful, healthy, mature tree, it takes that long to fix the problem. After just one application, one overage, one just doing too much can damage everything so much that it literally takes years of care and maintenance and repair and treatments to be able to get the tree to look the way it did before, or the grass to be able to look the way it did before you started introducing herbicides into the environment.
Yeah.
Man. And that's the killer right there, because people, I was going to get my weeds killed and that was going to be a snap of a finger. Why isn't fixing the tree a snap of a finger? Why isn't fixing the grass a snap of a finger, AJ?
like you can get burned really quickly, right? How long does it take for a burn to recover?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. Oftentimes, especially as the severity increases, the healing process significantly increses in time, right? And just like with the burn, oftentimes there is no 100% recovery, you know?
Agreed.
Now, fortunately, with lawns and landscapes, we literally can like rip a lot of it out, replace it, all that stuff. So
you can get over it, but it costs a lot of money over wanting to have a weed-free lawn.
And these products out here are generally like anywhere from $30 to $100.
Yeah.
You know, I know of a lot of popular products that are in that price range, and they wind up costing $800 to $1,200. Because you say your like initial average thing is $750.
Yeah.
My average lawn repair cost to fix someone's lawn is between $800 and $1,200, right? And to resod the lawn is generally between starting out at $2,000 to $3,000.
Absolutely.
Right? Fortunately, I can do it without resodding it, but it's a longer process. It just like fixing a tree or remediating a tree is a longer process.
Yeah.
Right.
We live in such an instant gratification world, and herbicides, I think, are part of that instant gratification mindset, unfortunately. And it when you're doing things on a more soil health focused level and a ecologically responsible level, things take time. It's not going to be a snap of a finger. It's not going to be that instant gratification. We need to watch things grow and develop slowly. We shouldn't be pumping tons of chemical fertilizer into something to make it grow. We shouldn't be pumping tons of herbicide into something to be able to make it one beautiful monoculture of just St. Augustine, of just Bermuda, of just name your grass. And because the instant gratification causes problems in the long run.
It does. And it doesn't only cause problems, it costs a lot of money.
Costs a lot of money.
Right? And sometimes irreversible damage.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some very simple ways to help have healthier trees and lawns and landscapes. And it sounds silly, okay? Sounds so silly to a lot of people, but it is simple as spraying water and molasses all over everything.
Got to have something for the bacteria to eat, because if you're not putting food back into the environment, that decomposing organic matter, those sugars that are natural from trees, because trees, grass, weeds, plants of all kinds release what are called exudates through the root system. These sugars and starches through the root system that actually feed the fungus and the bacteria, and a simple molasses spray is just extra food.
Right, and micronutrients. But before we hop off on that topic, okay, because we did a lot about, talking about the problem. On this next episode, we want to dive a little bit more into the solutions, okay?
Good idea.
Because it's not just about what you shouldn't do and don't do. We also are going to introduce what you should do and make sure that it is simple, effective, so that you're not spending thousands of dollars remediating something that was caused by a $30 bag of crap.
Yep.
So, Shane, thank you so much for sharing all that info and your experience with us. Thank you guys for joining the Lawnspiracy, okay? So,
for another great episode.
Let's take off our tinfoil hats for now, and we'll be back later. Peace.
Peace.